Hi guys, Billy back, and this time we're going to be looking at the Iron Man Mark 42 1/10 scale figure by ZD Toys. Okay, first off we can see it's got this lovely nice shiny cellophane that stopped me from putting all the lights on. So I'm going to take the cellophane off, then we're going to have a look at the packaging. Okay, first off the bat we can see that you've got the Mark 42 image just there. We've got another arc reactor in the center. We've got the Disney logo because it is an officially licensed figure. We've got the Marvel logo. We've got some sort of Chinese writing down the bottom. I don't exactly know what it says. I'm not even going to try and pretend to, but you can see it does have a sort of shininess to the text just there, like a spot gloss just over the Iron Man 3 logo. There's a slightly golden hue just going throughout all of this box here when I shine out to the light. It's quite interesting. You can see a little bit of the chest piece just there. Then on the side we can see we've got Iron Man 3, we've got Mark 42 image there. Again, some more logos, and then on the back we've got some promo pics of the figure itself, plus the ZD Toys logo, barcodes, and all that lovely Chinese writing that I can never read. But then you can see you've got the Mark 42 logo there, another picture of the figure. Nothing up the top, nothing at the bottom, and it's got a parting in the middle so you can open it up either side like this, and inside you will have the piece of card just there. You've got a card insert with a picture of the suit itself, without the chest cover over it so you can see all the mechanical pieces underneath, and the lovely shiny arc reactor there. And then we've got this little tab here to help you pull it out from the box, and then when we turn it around, then you've got instructions of how to put the stand together if need be. And then inside we can see you've got the figure, and then behind it there's another tray with the extra hands, the blast effects and the stand. Okay, let's open this all out and see exactly what we get. And here's everything just straight out of the box, and we can see that he does come with the usual suspects in terms of accessories. He comes with a slew of different hands, including open palmed hands, some with portholes in so you can put the blast effects into, like this, just like that. And they've got this lovely sort of gold paint just on the back here. There's a slight imperfection on this just there that I've noticed, but they're actually quite nicely sculpted. You can actually see that the insides of the fingers have been painted as well, which is something you don't normally expect on a figure of this price range, but they've gone ahead and done it anyway. He also comes with hands that actually have the blast lens painted so it looks complete without just a big hole in the palm of the hand, and they're all very nicely painted. And these blast effects are the same ones that come with every release that they've done so far in this range. It's a bit same old, including the stand. The only difference on here is the Iron Man 3 logo with the Mark 42 numbering there. But other than that, it's the same. He's still got that waist grabber piece here. But then you can take that off and replace it with a crotch grabber just there. Or you can do a sort of an amalgamation of the two and just mix in these waist grip pieces here with that and get a reasonably okay flight stand. Overall, they're really good stands. I actually quite like them and I have used them for other figures. My only issue is that maybe the pole isn't really that tall. You can see that it's not massively tall, but it will lift the figure off the ground just enough to get those flight poses in. Okay, and just looking at the figure, you can see that it's actually really nicely sculpted. There's lots of detail in it, especially as this suit was very detailed to begin with. So it was going to be hard to replicate this in such a small form factor. But I think ZD Toys have actually done a pretty good job. Now normally I'm just like super praising the ZD Toys paintwork because they actually do a really great job with all the other figures in the line, including, let's just get up the Mark 4 here. You can see that for the price range, this type of paint job isn't normally what you would expect, and it looks great. But unfortunately, there is a slight defect here in that on the arms, there is a slight bleed off of the gold onto the red parts just here, which is a bit of a shame. I think this is just a really tough figure with all the small panels and the tiny pieces to actually paint really well in such a small size and at such a cheap price. So I think they've done a good job still. However, it's not as good as, say, their last 6 figures they've done in the line, or 8 if you include the LED versions of the figures. The rest of them have exemplary paintwork, but this one just has pretty good paintwork. And coming in and looking at the back of the figure, you can see it's actually much nicer painted. There's not as much bleed off, and it looks pretty good. I also like all this paneling inside the leg there. However, because of the way this suit was designed, there is some slight gappage in the thighs and the bicep area that are a little bit unsightly, but it's not the end of the world. I'd much prefer to have a slightly more unsightly joint and then be able to actually pose the thing rather than it just be a glorified plastic statue. But one of the things this figure has above all the others is it has a little bit more articulation in the head, in that it can actually look up more. That's something that a lot of these figures can't do. This one, he doesn't really look up, he just sort of looks down a little bit. And this guy can really get far down and get his chin to his chest, which again is something these ZD Toys figures don't normally do. But then he can look left and look right, and he can do a full 360 and get all the way around, no problem. There's no lower joint in the neck, which is a shame, but that's the same with all of them. The chest piece here, again, very nicely painted. You can see the arc reactor just inside, and there is some detail in there with a window. So it just adds another layer of detail that you wouldn't normally expect. But then you can see he still has the pull-out joints that all these figures have been designed with, so that you can push them in and hide the seams a lot better if need be. But if you want a little bit more articulation, you can pop these out and the arms can swivel all the way round. You can get into a good pose and then reset them back into the chest area when you want to make it look a little bit more seamless. The shoulder pads are articulated, but they're a little restricted simply because they're quite bulky still, but you know, there is a little bit of give there. The bicep swivel goes all the way round. There is a double joint in the arms, so they can get way more than 90-degree bend, which is good. There is a wrist peg here, you can spin them all the way round, and you can flick these a little bit forward and back. Chest wise, he can move forward just a fraction and a little bit back, and a little bit left and a little bit right. However, it does have that pop out joint as well, so you pop it out and you can lean forward a lot more, he can lean back a lot more, and he does have limited left and right. He can rock side to side pretty well, but there is a lack of twist. There is no lower waist articulation, it's completely sculpted, so then you come down to the hips, and the hip joints can get the leg to stick out about that much. However, there is a drop down joint, so you pull it all the way down and then he can get up a lot further. His legs can also go quite a far bit back. There is no thigh swivel. Oh, no, tell a lie, there is a thigh swivel. It is in there. You can see, unfortunately, it was just stuck for some reason. So hopefully there is better articulation in this than we first thought, because there is a thigh swivel and you can get the legs out really, really far. There is a double joint in the knee. You can bend them all the way back like that. And he does have reasonably good ankle articulation. And you can get him into the ground pound pose, and also his head lifts up just a fraction bit more than some of the older ones. So he does look like he's actually looking up a little bit more, but it's still not perfect. I'd love for, you know, these to be articulated just enough so they could face forward and do like a sort of ground pound superhero landing. And he can almost sit cross-legged like he's relaxing on the sofa, just like in Iron Man 3. However, there is a little bit of restriction in the articulation, so he can't get his arm up all the way to make it look like it's resting on the back of the sofa, which is a shame. But if you really wanted to, you could get him into a sort of semi-relaxed meditative stance. If you really want to, for all your Street Fighter nuts, you can get him into a Hadouken pose, or sod it, maybe even a Dragon Punch pose. And here he is in just like a very, very simple flight pose. However, you can tell that I haven't actually used the stand that he comes with, which is this one, because this arm here is a little bit too loose. This one's nice and firm, but this one is loose as hell, and I can't really get him into a pose. Plus, the height of the pole isn't great for these. You can see I've actually had to use the spring-loaded version from the Light Up ZD Toys Iron Man figure, and I've had to rest his thigh in there rather than his waist, simply because these stands, the poles aren't long enough with the blast effects in to elevate him off the ground enough to make him look like he's actually flying. Articulation on this guy is good, but it is not the best in the series so far. As you can see in the Mark IV, there is more white behind the eyes, which gives him a little bit more life, whereas here the eyes are just a little bit more dead. Overall, ZD Toys have done another great release in the ZD Toys Iron Man range. My only criticisms of the figure is the slight lack of articulation in the torso area, the slightly out of character paint bleed on the arm, and also the stand is a little bit flimsy on this release. Plus, if I'm being really critical, I could say maybe release these figures with a couple of different accessories here and there so they're not all the same. I know you're doing it with the LED light up versions, but it would be nice if you could just release something with the non-light up versions so that when people start collecting these as a range, they can get a little bit of variation in the accessories to go with all the figures, and they can chop and change them as they so wish. They've proven that they can add rocket pieces to the forearms with the Mark III light up version, so I would have liked to have seen something like that with this guy. However, as it is, he's still a great release, fantastic for the price. He's the same price as a Marvel Legend, and I can tell you that these blow Marvel Legend Iron Man out of the water completely. Okay guys, hope you enjoyed the video. Like and subscribe. If you do me a favour now, if you can get out of my cave, I'm going to go put this guy in the Hall of Armour, and I'm going to wait for the Mark I to be released so I can actually finish the Marks 1 to 7 range. Bye bye guys.